Hari Ram, Hari Ram.
Thank you, Sushmita Mataji. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrind ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासा आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय. श्रीला गुरुदेव की जय. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Cinmayi Vrajapriya Devi Dasi, welcoming each one of you to our Bhakti Sangha mid-morning japa session. And it's time for us to move to our next part. I know who all have joined today's call so that we can greet each one of you. And thank you, Revati Mataji, for your beautiful chanting. And thank you, Susmita of Bhagavad Gita. And thank you, Sushmita Mataji, for chanting in the meanwhile.
Hare Krishna. Go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharajas, and all the assembled Vaishnavas. This is Kirti Dasangri Dasi. Thank you, Revati Mataji, for your very nice chanting.
Hare Krishna, Kirti Dasandri Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for all your services. Thank you for your classes. And welcome, Mataji, for today's call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Neetu from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna, Neetu Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you, Mataji, for joining every day, and welcome, Mataji, for today's call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Cinmayi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda Gopika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you, Mataji, for your sweet association, encouraging each one of us. And welcome, Mataji, for today's call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Cinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Sushmita from Canada.
Hare Krishna, Sushmita Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for all your services you do in Bhakti Sangha. And welcome, Mataji, for today's call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and the assembled devotees. This is Revati from Atlanta, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Revati Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for your beautiful recitation. Thank you for your services. Thank you for joining every day, Mataji. Welcome to the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Cinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji, for your warm welcoming. Thank you, Revati Mataji, for the beautiful chanting, and Sushmita Mataji for chanting as well. This is Preeti Vilasini Devdasi from Atlanta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you, Mataji, for all the services you do, for the various classes you do, encouraging each and every devotee. Thank you for your association, Mataji. And welcome to today's call. Hare Krishna. Mataji, it's 11 o'clock. Shall we start? But Prabhuji is not yet joined. Shall I read Prabhupada's quote? Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to our mid-morning session of Bhakti Sangha group. And today we are continuing our Chaitanya Bhagavat class. And before we go to the class, I will read Srila Prabhupada's quote for today. His quote is, "Every disciple should always remain busy in some work for Krishna. We shall not allow to remain vacant our mind. And if the mind is always filled up with Krishna consciousness, with Krishna consciousness activities, then there is no chance of Maya to sit on the mind and force us to act under her spell. This was said by His Divine Grace in a letter to Mukunda Prabhu on May 6th, 1968. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Govardhana Giri Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for giving your time and agreeing to talk on Chaitanya Bhagavat. We are very fortunate to have you in our to give our class today. And Prabhuji will be talking on Chaitanya Bhagavata Madhya khanda, 10th chapter, from texts 126 to 139. So please take over, Prabhuji, eagerly waiting to hear from you and all your realizations. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Dhanishtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nishtiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bangam Lankhaite Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Dhanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prajarine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So today we are reading from the Chaitanya Bhagavata Madhya khanda, chapter 10. That is a continuation in your regular reading. So this is the conclusion of the Lord's Mahaprakasha pastimes. And I shall be reading today from text 126 onwards. Before that, with all your permission, I would like to pay my humble and respectful obeisances to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, who joined the eternal pastimes of the Lord and with His Divine Spiritual Master Srila Prabhupada, a great general in our movement, who served Srila Prabhupada with love and dedication that is unmatched. And today, thousands of his disciples have become bereft of his physical association. However, it is wonderful that we can always relate to these great personalities through their Vani, through their words, their services. So I just wanted to pay my obeisances today, being his entering into Samadhi in Sri Vrindavan Dham just a few hours ago. So I just thought it is appropriate to pay our obeisances to Maharaj before we start reading from Chaitanya Bhagavata. So, reading from Chaitanya Bhagavata, this portion is about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Acharya Prabhu. So, the previous 125, shloka number 125 says, Ei mata ei pathe dvidahaya swapnera katha prabhu pratyaksha kahaya. In this way, whenever some doubt arose during his recitation, the Lord would directly speak to him in his dream. So, continuing that, text 126, Yata ratri swapnahaya yedine ekshane yata shloka sabha prabhu kahila apane. The Lord reminded Advaita about all those dreams, days, moments, and verses. Mahaprabhu personally reminded Advaita Prabhu about all the verses that he previously had some doubts about. Text 127. Dhanya dhanya Advaitera bhakti ramahima bhakti shakti kibaliba eitara sima. The glories of Advaita's devotional service are most wonderful. How can I describe the extent of his devotional prowess? Prabhuvale sarvapatha kahila tumare eka patha nahi kahi, aji kahi tore. The Lord said, although I explained all the verses, I did not explain one, which I will now explain to you. Sampradaya anurode sabe mandapade, sarvada panipadam tad ei pathanade. According to their respective sampradayas, people give wrong interpretations. The actual reading of the verse is not sarvada panipadam tad. So, just to have a background of Advaita Acharya Prabhu, he has a very wonderful relationship with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the sense that Advaita Prabhu is age-wise, he is like the father of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was Advaita Prabhu's prayers by his Abhisheka to his Saligram Shila and loudly requesting the Lord to appear in Kali Yuga, along with Haridas Thakur's chanting. These are two reasons Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says on various occasions that, Advaita Prabhu's loud calling and Haridas Thakur's chanting was two reasons why I had to appear, kind of. Of course, we understand that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the Supreme Lord, is supremely independent and he does not feel forced to appear. However, as a matter of love and affection between the Lord and his devotees, and because the Lord has himself expressed aham bhakta paradinaha, that is, the Lord is controlled only by his devotees' love and his bhakti. Otherwise, nobody can control the Lord. He is the ultimate controller of everyone. However, the Lord himself has told and he has also shown to us that he can be controlled by his pure devotees. So here also, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would many times say, and he would always tell Advaita Acharya, that you are like my father. I respect you like my father. However, Advaita Acharya, being so much senior to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Advaita Acharya looked upon Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his worshipable Lord. So Advaita Acharya Prabhu always had that subservient feeling towards Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reciprocally had a subservient feeling towards Advaita Acharya Prabhu, considering him like a father. So this is something wonderful that we will find in Chaitanya Leela mostly. In the other Leelas of the Lord, this kind of humility expressing, the Lord himself expressing this kind of humility is not so prevalent in the other Leelas of the Lord. Although the Lord comes under the control of his devotees, etc., etc., but always his Ishvara Bhava will predominate at one stage or the other. That's how the Lord is. Of course, on occasion, he will also show that he is controlled by his devotees. That's there. In Chaitanya Leela, we will find the Lord taking the lower position on many occasions. On many occasions, the Lord takes the lower position. And on some occasions, like this Mahaprakash Leela in Srivas Thakur's house, there he is exhibiting his Aishwarya as the Supreme Lord. And that also is happening only because the Lord is very, very merciful to his confidential devotees, and only they are able to see it also. You will find that the Mahaprakash Leela is not seen by everybody. It's only seen by very few people. We read about this, so, thanks to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Vrindavandas Thakur and Murari Gupta, Swarup Damodar Goswami, from all this, because of all these great personalities, today we are able to understand the supreme position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, we would not know. Otherwise, we would be like the general public who think that he is also one of the saints, like they teach in the Indian school textbooks. They teach him as one of the teachers of the Bhakti movement in the, mid 1500 or something like that. So they just club him, the Supreme Lord, into one of those. How ignorant of them, and how they make also the coming generation as ignorant as the previous generation is. Very sad. Anyway, so it is very confidential. Chaitanya Leela is confidential. Understanding Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also is not very easy. All these things are, although all these things are available in public domain, it still remains confidential, because for those people who are not eligible, those people who don't have the yogyata, they will not be able to understand. They will not be able to accept. That's how it is. Here, Advaita Acharya Prabhu, he is also known to be a great teacher. He's a Brahmana, big Pandit, also teacher. So, Advaita Acharya Prabhu, after the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he started exhibiting this kind of Leela where any shloka he takes, he can explain that with reference to Bhakti. And whenever he is having some doubt, whenever Advaita Prabhu has a doubt, he will get it clarified by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his heart itself. Advaita Acharya did not have to send some email or some WhatsApp message to the senior devotee, can you please help me understand this, like that. He could just, have the doubt and think of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through his heart, would give him the clarification. It's not that these things are not known to Advaita Prabhu. Advaita Acharya Prabhu is also an Amsha of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. So all these things are known to him. But to make the Leela very sweet, this type of interactions we find. It is very sweet for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Prabhu, and it's also very sweet for all the followers to read this and to see how they enjoyed and appreciated one another's prowess, one another's knowledge, etc., etc. So the Lord is always reciprocating based on the taste of his devotee. Previously, we have seen how Murari Gupta, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave darshan to Murari Gupta as Sri Ramachandra. And he told Murari Gupta not to worry about it also. We have seen that previously. So here we can see how, because Advaita Acharya is a great Pandita, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is interacting with Advaita Acharya Prabhu on that Pandita level. Of course, there is also a lot of prema interactions between them. Here, however, we see a particular shloka being taken. And that shloka is a very famous one. So, regarding that, they are discussing Ajitore Satyakahi Chadiya Kapata Sarvatra Pani Padam Tad A Satyapatha. Today, I tell you without any pretension, the actual reading of the verse is Sarvatra Pani Padam Tad. Sarvada Pani Padam Tad Sarvado Kshishiro Mukham Sarvada Shruti Malloke Sarvam Avritya Tishtati. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists, pervading everything. This shloka appears in two places. One is, as we all know, it is appearing in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13. It is shloka number 14. This Sarvatra, Sarvadah Panipadam Tad, Sarvatokshishiro Mukham, Sarvata Shrutiman Loke, Sarvamavritya Tishtati. So, this is what gives some doubt in the mind of Advaita Acharya. Because whether this is directly indicating the Supreme Lord, or is it indicating the all-pervading feature of the Supreme? All-pervading feature itself means that there is an impersonal aspect to that. You cannot personally pervade, no? Or rather, by our faculty of understanding, we cannot understand how that will. So therefore, there is always some doubt, some lack of clarity. And it is also Upanishad Vakya. This verse, Sarvadapani Padam Tad, is also there in the 3rd chapter of Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Same shloka. However, in Shvetashvatara Upanishad itself, we can understand that the previous shlokas, for example, the shloka number, I think that is number 11 of that chapter. Yes. In that 11th shloka of the 3rd chapter of Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it speaks about Sarva Vyapi Sa Bhagavan Tasmat Sarvagada Shiva. That this person is all-pervading and he is Bhagavan. That all-pervading personality is Bhagavan. That indication is given 3 or 4 verses previous to this Sarvadav Panipadam. So therefore, by properly reading and understanding, we can very clearly make out that it is indicating the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Person. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that the Sarvada actually means Sarvatra. Sarvatha actually means Sarvatra. So Mahaprabhu says that if you understand this, then you will have no problem or you will have no doubt. Ati Gupta Patha Ami Kahila Tomare Toma Bhai Patra Keba Ache Kahibare. I have thus explained the confidential purport of this verse, but other than you, who can understand? Chaitanyera Gupta Shishya Acharya Gosani, Chaitanyera Sarva Vyakhya Acharya Rathani. Acharya Gosani was a secret disciple of Lord Chaitanya. He understood all of Lord Chaitanya's confidential explanations. So, some of these confidential things, or most of these confidential things, although they appear openly in the public eye, remains confidential. To one class, the non-believers. For them, this does not interest them. They have no faith in this. Therefore, although it is out in the open, they cannot understand. So it remains confidential. Now, for even the sadhaka, this confidential knowledge actually becomes revealed gradually when he practices devotional service sincerely. Because these things we understand that, as Rupa Goswami says, it is swayameva spuratyatha. And how does it swayameva spuratyatha? It is by service, starting with the tongue. Atha Sri Krishna namadi bhaved na bhaved grahyam indriyehi sevonmukhehi jihvado swayameva spuratyatha. So this whole thing, he says Atha Sri Krishna nama adi. Adi means all the leelas and all the everything about Sri Krishna. Na bhaved grahyam indriyehi. With our indriyas, with our senses, we cannot understand. Therefore, this confidential knowledge, even while we read it, while we hear it, simply by using the material senses, there is a limit to which we can comprehend it. There is a limit to our comprehension. In the sense that it remains with us as information. Whether it becomes realized knowledge or not depends on our practice. Therefore, although we get all these instructions, although we hear, I am not this body, and as Srila Prabhupada repeats that particular sentence, the maximum number of times, if you run a search of Prabhupada's statements, probably one of the most often repeated statement is this, I am not this body. Why? Don't we all know that that is the first instruction, the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita itself, it starts with that. Is it not? That we are all eternal. From that point only he starts, Natve vaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhiva nachaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayamathah param. From there only he starts, the Lord, Supreme Lord, his instructions to Arjuna starts from there about how we are eternal and how this body is temporary. But why does our Acharya Srila Prabhupada keeps on repeating it? In one place, Srila Prabhupada says that repetition is necessary because intelligence is dull. So therefore, Prabhupada has identified us as people with dull intelligence. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada repeatedly instructed us that we should remember we are not this body. Because only based on that premise, based on that realization only we can build the rest of the things. Otherwise, however tall we may build this building of our so-called devotional practice, if the foundation is weak, what will happen to the building? It will fall down. Therefore, to have realized knowledge is very, very important. And that comes by practice. And practice is that which we engage not whimsically, but practice that we are being engaged in by a spiritual authority. That is vidhi bhakti. Means somebody has to give the vidhi. We cannot simply make up a vidhi and say that this is my vidhi. That is not advisable. In fact, that is rejected. This yathomat tathopat. One famous philosopher in India said, yathomat tathopat. That means, whatever is your opinion, that is your path. He said. Actually, if I follow my opinion as my path, I know for sure that it will lead me to hell only, nowhere else. So that doesn't work. So vidhi means it is laid down by authority. So that is where it becomes very important that, we have a parampara, we have an authorized parampara, so that we follow the authorized teachings and instructions based on those authorized teachings and practicing those instructions. And gradually doing that over a period of time, we come to the platform of proper understanding. Otherwise, here, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that depending on their sampradaya, people will give wrong interpretation. Depending on people's sampradaya, they will give different interpretations. So that is one blanket warning given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so he clarifies this shloka to Advaita Acharya. Suniyacharya preme kandide lagilapaya manera katha mahanande bhola. After hearing the Lord's explanation, Advaita Acharya began to cry in ecstatic love. Hearing the topics that he desired to hear, he forgot himself in ecstasy. Advaita balaye ara kibaliba muni eimora mahatva eimora natha tuni. Advaita said, what more can I say? I am glorious to have you as my master. Anandevi khwalahaila acharya gosani prabhura prakasha dekhi bhashya kichunani. Acharya Gosai became overwhelmed in ecstasy and completely forgot himself on seeing the Lord's manifestation. Eisabakathaya yara nahika pratita athapata hayatara janiha nischita. Know for certain that anyone who does not believe these topics goes to hell. Now, how this topic is to be understood? So here it is explained. The impersonalists maintain the reading as sarvatha from everything, while superficially accepting the meaning as sarvatra everywhere. The personalists accept the form of the Supreme Lord. Since the impersonalists propound the theory that this material world is false, they do not accept that hands, legs, ears, eyes, head, and face of the Supreme Lord are eternal. Through the philosophy of achintya bheda bheda, one can realize the Lord's senses worthy of eternal service, apart from the enjoyable forms that are seen through external vision. A Mahabhagavata always sees the Supreme Lord as Purushottama, the supreme enjoyer, and Hrishikesha, the controller of the senses. Rather than seeing the external world with the spirit of enjoyment, they see everything as a source of enjoyment for Purushottama. As followers of Vishishtadvaitavada, the philosophy of specific monism, consider this material world as the gross body of the Supreme Lord, or as the followers of Kevaladvaitavada, the philosophy of exclusive monism, deny the existence of material creation. Such conceptions are not necessary in the most subtle philosophy of achintya bheda abheda. There is no impediment for a devotee whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love to always see the Lord's eternal form with all his limbs and sublimbs. Although in this temporary material world, the mundane conceptions that are born from aversion to the Lord's service appear factual, there are no anarthas present in the conceptions of a pure spirit. So the artha or goal of the living entity is to take shelter of the worshipable Lord. Therefore, one does not have to always maintain the concept of soliciting material enjoyment as done by the living entities who are controlled by material enjoyment and forced to enjoy the fruits of their karma. This is the Lord's desire. As long as the fruity workers maintain anarthas, they consider temporary objects as enjoyable and universal form as concocted or imagined. Moreover, the impersonalists who search after indifferent Brahman consider the existence of material form as born of sensual perception and display indifference towards the acceptance of temporary material existence. Since the followers of Shuddhadvaita philosophy are unable to perceive spiritual ecstasy in the external world, since they accept the spirit soul is devoid of ecstasy, and since they express a difference of opinion in ascertaining the relationship between Sachidananda and this material world, They're unable to realize the actual meaning of Achintya Bheda Bheda philosophy. The Sarvatra Panipadam Tat verse has appeared in order to reveal that the energetic Lord is present everywhere in his Sachidananda form. A faithless person will be deceived from the actual truth that lies in Gaurasundara's explanation, and Sri Advaita's acceptance of that explanation. Degradation in the form of temporary material conceptions will be the only gain for such a person. So here it is very clearly explained. Because the shloka says, Eisava kathaya yara nahika pratita athappada hayatara janiha nishchita. That is, if someone does not believe these topics, he goes to hell. That is what is told in the shloka. Who will go to hell? Who does not have faith in this explanation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about this Sarvada Pani Padam shloka. Now, why this conception differs between different sampradayas? We understand that the Advaita Vadis, they have a completely different conception than the other Vaishnava systems or Vaishnava Paramparas. Even among the Vaishnava Paramparas, there are subtle differences in understanding. There are subtle differences in understanding. And as they evolved, the Vaishnava Sampradayas, we understand that the first two Vaishnava Sampradayas are closer to the monistic philosophy. The third and fourth Vaishnava Sampradayas establish the individuality of the soul more when compared to the earlier two Vaishnava Sampradayas, namely the Rudra and the Kumara Sampradayas being the earlier Vaishnava Sampradayas. They explain more in line with the monistic philosophy. The Sri Sampradaya and the Brahma Sampradaya, or the Brahma Madhya Sampradaya, where they actually establish the individuality of the soul and also about the nature of the Supreme. Now, we must also understand what is this is just a side information, may not be very relevant for the devotees, but however, just to have a perspective on how this came about. So we all know that Buddha's philosophy of ahimsa and rejection of Vedas were caught on by everyone. And Buddha completely rejected any form of afterlife whatsoever. He said everything is nirvana. That means that is that shunyavadi. Everything becomes shunya after this particular existence, like that. And he completely rejected Vedas because that was also, we understand that is the plan of the Lord, because people were using the excuse of Vedas and conducting sacrifice in order to satisfy their senses demands. So therefore, Lord incarnated as Buddha. And then to bring the followers of Sanatana Dharma back into the fold, as per the Lord's plan, Shankaracharya appeared and he put forth this Advaita philosophy, which also negates the form of the Lord. Buddha completely negated everything. Form, formlessness, nothing. He said everything shunya. And rejected Veda also. Rejecting Veda means then there is no further discussion. So Shankaracharya appeared and put forth the Advaita philosophy, which is actually a form of Vedic atheism, because using the Veda Vakyas to establish that the Supreme has no form. And it is done very intelligently. That is why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has very clearly warned that, Mayavadi Katha Sunile Hoibe Sarvanash. Because it can be very strong and very convincing. So if one is not well situated in one's position, one can become swayed. Therefore, we have to avoid. Because everything that they speak would be from Shruti Vakya. They need not even approach Smriti or Purana to establish their position. They will simply use Shruti Vakya and establish. However, because the ultimate aim of the Supreme Lord is to establish Bhakti and its superiority over everything else, so then the Vaishnava Acharyas were introduced, the Rudra Sampradaya, and the Kumara Sampradaya was introduced, and it is Vaishnava philosophy in the sense that they accept the Supreme Lord, but then the difference they did not stress much on. The difference between the Brahman or the soul and Parabrahman, the Supreme Soul. Not so much. Then it was the third Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, Ramanujacharya. He was the one again using Shruti Vakya, establishing this Vishuddha, Vishishta Advaita, their philosophy is called. That means it is Advaita, but there is one is Vishishta, means one is supreme, superior, special. Then finally Madhvacharya came and he said there is no one, there is always two. That is why you will find Madhvacharya holding the V symbol. It's not the victory symbol. Madhvacharya is holding up two fingers to show that the Paramatma and the Atma are always different. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears in the same Sampradaya. He harmonizes all the four Sampradayas and he establishes the Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. And using that Tattva, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained the entire Vedic knowledge. And Mahaprabhu's followers have understood that and they are perpetuating that system of knowledge. And we are all recipients of that system of knowledge. So actually we have the most superior knowledge system available. Although we stress on the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra over and above everything else, because actually this entire system of knowledge ultimately points to that only. So one who has realized this whole knowledge system chants Hare Krishna and becomes very happy. So that is why we see Advaita Acharya jumping and dancing in Kirtan. Advaita Acharya is a Parshada. He's been there from the beginning of Chaitanya Leela. You take the other example, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the Vedanti, the Pandit, the Advaiti. You can call him, all these adjectives will go with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. But after listening to the explanation of the Vedanta Sutra from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he becomes devotee. So why? Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he appears and is propagating this singing and chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in huge groups, but he is also given that knowledge system which covers the entire Vedic knowledge. So how to interpret Shruti Vakya properly, that's all there in our system. So therefore, we have to understand that our process of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra is based on the topmost Vedic philosophy. But somehow we feel, because the process is the most simple. And when somebody says yoga, some mystic yoga, and you see them with half eye closed, long hair, flowing robes, and looking very mystic, or not talking much. Or somehow we feel, oh, there must be something. But here, Advaita Acharya was using every shloka, he was proving the supremacy of bhakti over everything else. Supremacy of bhakti over everything else. Because unless all these other systems culminate in bhakti, they remain incomplete in the sense that they will not achieve the highest result that they are aiming for. Therefore, bhakti, without adding the topping of bhakti, nothing can be complete. But here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says those who don't accept, they will go to hell. Because also unfortunately, there are people who speak of bhakti being a means to the end of understanding that I am Brahman, I am not different from the all-pervading Brahman. So once we understand that, then there is no need of bhakti. So this is the biggest aparadha we can commit towards Bhakti Devi. To think that bhakti is a means to an end that is different from serving the Supreme Lord. Not to have an agenda that is different from the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. That is actually the topmost result. But here Mahaprabhu warns that if you don't accept this topmost result, then you will get severe reactions. Why? Because you are talking, or because you are thinking that no, ultimately, this is, there is no difference between Brahman and Parabrahman. And in order to come to that level, I have to use all these things. Thinking like that is the worst kind of aparadha one can come. Therefore, we must understand factually how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained this to his disciples and how they have passed on this knowledge to us. It is not something very simple. However, it is presented to us in the most simple manner. So we don't think much about it. But we must know how all these things are established using the Veda Vakyas themselves. Mahaprabhu has already done that, so that we don't have to identify which is a Abheda Shruti, which is a Bheda Shruti, which is a Ghadaga Shruti. That is how these Vaishnava Acharyas and Shankaracharya, that is how they have picked Shruti Vakyas to establish their particular line of understanding. There is Bheda Shruti, means Vakyas or sentences in Shruti, meaning in Veda directly and in Upanishad, which will say that there is a difference between Brahman and Parabrahman. There is Abheda Shruti, a Shruti Vakya which will say that, there is no difference. And then there is Ghataka Shruti, which means there are Vakyas which will always also say that there is difference, but there is oneness. So by cherry picking, you can establish anything using Shruti Vakya. That is why it is told that be very careful whom you give your ear to. Because you give it to the wrong person, what will happen? this Bhakti Lata, that already we are having enough trouble, watering it and making it grow, will be completely gone. Therefore, Mahaprabhu says we have to be careful. And therefore, we must always understand things properly, in perspective, as per we have to see things. We cannot, first of all, see things through these physical eyes. They transcend the subject matter, I mean. All that is physical and material, we can see with the physical material eyes. That which is not material, how can we see with material eyes? We cannot see. So what is the other way to see? So Shukadeva Goswami uses the word anupashyati in Srimad Bhagavatam. Anupashyati means seeing through, anugamana, following somebody, anupashyati. Following somebody in a way that we see it the way he sees it. It's like when we talk to one another, don't we say, can't you see my point? We say that. No? So we have to see Srila Prabhupada's point. What is he pointing to? So we have to also see that same way. In the same way we have to see. Anupashyati it is called. Because we try to see things on our own, we will always see the wrong thing. The 5 blind men who went to see the elephant. We all know the story. So we don't want to do that. Anupashyati. So how our Acharya Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, who is our eternal Shiksha Guru, what has he given in the purport that we understand? That is Anupashyati. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada knows. He has understood. He has realized. He has realized. So what he speaks, we can take it without any doubt, without any fear. We can take it, we can accept it. And we can always be assured that we will be safe if we simply follow and understand things as taught by our Acharya, because he understands. See, the next verse says that Mahabhagavate bhuje Advaita Vyakya apane Caitanya yare kara ila shiksha. A Mahabhagavata can understand the explanations of Advaita, was personally taught by Lord Chaitanya. Although the explanations of Sri Advaita Prabhu are born of Achintya Abheda, or inconceivable oneness, they are actually Achintya Bheda Abheda. Exalted Vaishnavas can understand this. Ignorant people consider Advaita Prabhu a preacher of Kevaladvaita philosophy and Sri Gaur Sundar a perceptor of Dvaita philosophy, which is opposed to the philosophy of Chintya Dvaita, conceivable duality. Since some degree of Mayavada philosophy is preached among Advaita's so-called descendants, who are unable to understand his actual purport of his explanations. Even today, the same seed of aversion to devotional service is creating sentiments that are opposed to pure devotional service. They do not know that Sri Advaita Prabhu did not give any explanation that was not approved by Sri Chaitanya Deva. Vedayena nana mata karaye kathana ei mata acharyera durgnyaya vachana. As the Vedas have various opinions, the statements of Advaita Acharya are very difficult to understand. Since the so-called descendants of Advaita Acharya who could not understand his explanations taught by the people of this world, that considerations unfavorable to devotional service should be accepted by devotees. Panchopasana has gained more respect in various parts of Bengal and Assam. Purnanadas Thakur has stated that as various injunctions of the Vedic literatures appear contradictory from the external point of view, and as a result, various philosophies like Kevaladvaita, Shuddhadvaita, Dvaita has arisen. People who are unable to understand Advaita Acharya's words and behavior support various philosophies that they claim Advaita taught, while actually Sri Advaita Prabhu has taught the world on the basis of Sri Chaitanya Dev's teachings. Although his explanations appear contradictory, they were approved by and in agreement with those of Sri Chaitanya. Although the explanations presented by Sri Chaitanya support the philosophies of inconceivable oneness, they nevertheless simultaneously support the philosophy of difference. Therefore, they are not subject to matter of material thought. Now, this makes it very clear that it is very difficult for us on our level to understand and interpret the Mahavakyas or the explanations by great personalities like Advaita Acharya. Therefore, we have to take the help of the acharyas who followed them. Because by following them, by following the path laid down by them, those acharyas who followed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Advaita Prabhu, they have understood exactly what is the purport of the words spoken by these personalities. And no one other than these people can explain it to the later people in the best way possible. That is why this understanding things through parampara becomes very, very important. Because as this shloka says, the previous shloka, the Mahabhagavatas only can understand. Everybody is not a Mahabhagavata. So if we directly hear, that is why previously as I said, if you directly hear a Shruti Vakya, we cannot make head or tail out of it. If we directly read the Upanishad, we cannot make head or tail out of it. Because every other verse will look contradictory from the previous verse. They will say that although he has got unlimited hands and legs, he is sitting at one place, he does not move. This shloka is there in Ishopanishad. All of us have studied at least one Upanishad, so we know. Although he is not moving, he is everywhere, he can reach everywhere. He is faster than the mind. Even the Devatas cannot reach him. So like this, it's, all the statements will appear like that only. All Upanishad Vakyas are like that. So therefore, understanding the limitations of our intellect, we should simply surrender to Guru and Krishna. Take the instructions and simply follow, execute it very sincerely. And that way, we will understand even the most complex philosophy without any difficulty. So that is what Srila Prabhupada is giving us through his purpose. So that wherever there is a doubt, we can refer again to the purports of Srila Prabhupada and we can clear that doubt very easily. Is it not? So that, we can continue on the path of our bhakti with the least amount of hindrances. Otherwise, what happens is that we try to understand things on the strength of our own intellect. More often than not, we will remain confused. We will take the wrong direction. We will get the wrong meaning. And then, before we even know it, we would have, diverted ourselves from the path, from the proper path. And by the time we realize, because we won't realize immediately, because our ego will never let us realize that we have made a mistake. So what will happen? By the time we realize, we would have already diverted and gone a very long way. And then making it back to the real way becomes very difficult. Therefore, we must always stay true to the instructions of our authorized parampara representatives. It is not for anything else. It is simply to safeguard the Kamala Shraddha that we have. Our Shraddha or our faith is very dwindling generally. A strong wind, because our Bhaktilata is very small, very weak. A strong wind can damage it very severely. What, even a light wind can damage it. When a small, plant is growing up, 2 leaves, 3 leaves. Imagine, Even if it's a small wind, it can have a very damaging impact. So therefore, we must always remember. And whenever we have any doubt, we should simply refer back to our acharyas, to our spiritual guides who are authorized in the parampara. They don't become authorized simply by assuming some position. They become authorized because of their surrender to their spiritual master and following and executing that order. That is how one becomes authorized. So that is the path that we have. That is the system. That is a mechanism that is available to us. So we can utilize that and understand Tattva properly and execute our devotional service properly and get the best result that is available. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Such a deep class. So many instructions you gave us, and it was a very beautiful class, Prabhu. How you began with how the mood of Mahaprabhu and the mood of Advaita Acharya, how they were subservient to each other. And you told how this verse is also found in Shvetashwarattara Upanishad, and you spoke about all the sampradayas, how Rudra and Kumara Sampradaya have the monistic inclinations, and how it goes further, and Brahma Madhva gives complete dualism, and there our Lord appeared in that sampradaya, and he gave us the most superior knowledge. And how you spoke about Anupashyati was excellent, Prabhu, really. So nicely you said we have to follow the footsteps of Prabhupada or understand his purports, because Prabhupada has understood the purports of Advaita Acharya. We have no capability to understand what Advaita Acharya or Mahaprabhu says. So we have to just follow. And how you ended by saying just surrender to your Guru, and even the most complex philosophy will reveal itself to you. That was so nice, Prabhu. And how we should safeguard our you said 3-leaved Bhakti Lata, but I have no leaves at Prabhu, so please bless me that my Bhakti Lata grows at least a little by your mercy. And I see raised hands, Prabhuji. Do you have a little time?
Yeah, sure, Mataji.
Kirtida Sundari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranams. I think so Cinmayi Radhika Mataji is already summarized. I also didn't have any question, but I just want to glorify. It was such a wonderful class, Prabhu. The way you express this philosophy in such a sweet and simple words, and with so many instructions for us to imbibe in our spiritual life. So really grateful to you, Prabhu. I don't have any question, but just want to glorify that. Thanks for coming on the call. Thanks for being so exemplary in service of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, you yourself, and you are exemplifying it. So thank you so much, Prabhu. Really, really grateful to you, and wonderful session, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Devotees, do you have any realizations to share or any questions for Prabhuji? Prabhuji? Shri Ishopanishad Mataji. Please go ahead, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Jai Hare Krishna. I'm not able to put my camera on, but while I'm working and I wanted to listen to you at the same time. And when I was able to hear, you said something that was really profound. You said that Lord Chaitanya says, be careful who you lend your ear. That was just, wonderful. Could you speak on that a little bit more, please? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji. That is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, that this Mayavada, if you listen to Mayavada, it is Sarvanash, everything will be destroyed. Now, I heard this recently from His Holiness Bhanuswami Maharaj. He was explaining or throwing more light into this by saying that because Shankara is such an expert in Vedanta and Veda, and he can very expertly take out things and present it. And he has already done that. And he said, because it is so expertly presented, anybody who is of an intelligence level lower than Shankara will fall for it. And all of us, none of us can say that we are anywhere on the level of intellectual capability as Shankaracharya is. So therefore, it becomes very dangerous for us that if we hear it, if we lend an ear to it, and try to hear it and understand it, then we will fall for it. So that is very dangerous for us. We may think, that I have personal experience many years back. One of my friends, we were both practicing Krishna consciousness together. And when he went away for a vacation, he said that, he said he'll try to speak to some new people and, make them understand Krishna consciousness. So we were generally discussing, I said that, we should be very careful because we are ourselves not big experts. So, we try to overstretch ourselves and we may get into trouble. He said, no, I know how to handle myself. And he went, and 3 weeks later, he came back as a Paka Advaiti, because he went and lent his ear to some Advaiti who was very good at what he was speaking. And our man came back and told me, well, see, we are understood things very wrongly. This is how we have to understand. So that, sort of strengthened my view that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's words should be taken very, very seriously, that if you hear from a Mayavadi who is, good at what he does, then we are finished.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for that question, Mataji. Yes, even I never understood in depth why Mahaprabhu said that. I would always have that question. Thank you, Prabhuji, for clearing it today. Thank you so much. Any other realizations?
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. One more question.
Sure,
Hari Bol. Jai, I'm coming to the understanding that Krishna wants, the Lord in the heart wants us to cry for him. And we go through all our days struggling. I struggle, maybe not everyone else, but I struggle in just trying to just taking advantage of the holy name. And when I have the understanding that you're inviting Krishna into your heart, you would think that this would be easy. It would be automatic. You will always want to have darshan with Krishna. But so why is it so difficult to just be attentive while we're chanting the holy name? Why is it so complicated? Haribol, Hare Krishna.
Well, I was just reading yesterday, there is a morning walk, Srila Prabhupada. It is Nairobi, I think 1975, November 3, if I'm not mistaken, not November. So there is a question from devotees. One devotee asked a question about quality of chanting. And Srila Prabhupada, he explains very nicely. First he says that where is the question of quality? What do you know about quality? This is Prabhupada's counter question. Where is the question of quality? What do you know about quality? First you come to quantity. Prabhupada says this. First you come to quantity because you have, and he said it is a forceful thing. Prabhupada says that it is a forceful thing. You are being forced to do it because you have no taste to do it. And then Prabhupada says that if you very sincerely follow this quantity as given by your spiritual master, there is a hope of coming to quality. And Prabhupada goes on to give an explanation, an example of the arranged marriage system. Prabhupada says in the Vedic system of arranged marriages, Prabhupada says, initially there is no affection between husband and wife. But he says over a period of time, by practicing, they get some, affection between husband and wife. Some quality comes, Prabhupada says. And then Prabhupada explains what is quality. Prabhupada says, what makes you think that I am writing these books, getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning? What makes me do it? What do you think? Prabhupada says, this is quality. Nobody is forcing me to do it. And then Prabhupada says the most profound sentence that I found. Prabhupada says, I do it because I cannot do without it. That is quality. So profound. He says, I am doing it not because I am forced to do it, because I cannot do without it.
Haribo. Jai.
That is from quantity to quality. I realize that we have to all travel from the quantity to quality by simply following the, instruction of Prabhupada, keeping that in heart, I mean, I just read it, I think yesterday or yesterday. I was just looking for some quality. Somebody was asking some question about this quality of chanting, and that's like a perennial question for all the practitioners. No? So, although there are many, many explanations, this I found Srila Prabhupada's own words, so I thought that is very inspiring.
Thank you so very much. Now, when I chant, I will be encouraged to want to do it more now, because Hare Krishna. It's not that it's because you're forced to be without it. Yes, I like that. Thank you so much. Haribo.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Such beautiful questions. Thank you. You're benefiting all of us. And thank you, Prabhuji. A beautiful answer. I do it because I cannot do without it. That is Prabhupada's transcendental level.
I'm just paraphrasing. The exact words may not be the same.
Yes,
just saying it out of my memory.
Definitely, Prabhu. Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you for your time. And thank you for this very, very instructive class, very eye-opening class. Request your presence again and again in this forum, Prabhuji. With your permission, let me pay my respects to all the Vaishnavas and yourself too. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Shri Chaitanya Bhagavat ki jai, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Grace Govardhan Giri Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai. Thank you so much.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Dhanvat pranam, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dhanvat pranams.
Krishna Kirtina Mataji, would you like to end the call?
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much, dear devotees. So we'll end up your call. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, once again for your wonderful association. Dhanvat pranams. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Ending the call.